Hello, everyone, again, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you here. My name is Amalia Thomas, and I am the Chief Revenue Officer for Ansira. So today I have the honor of introducing not only our webinar topic, but most importantly, introducing our guest speaker. And our discussion today will be grounded in a simple reality in that partner marketing is evolving faster than ever. So, what worked even a few years ago is being reshaped by new pressures, new technologies, and new expectations. So, partner ecosystems are becoming more complex and interconnected. Channels, partners, and customer touchpoints are multiplying. And so, as a result, marketing strategies need to be more agile, coordinated, and data driven more than ever before. So, on top of that, teams are also being stretched thin. Marketers like yourselves are tasked with managing more partners, more campaigns, more data, often across disconnected systems. And there's also the increasing pressure to prove impact, to drive efficiency, and deliver measurable results. So these shifts are not temporary. They are here to stay, and they're fundamentally changing how partner marketing operates. And organizations that adapt will create stronger partner relationships, resulting in stronger buyer relationships, and ultimately driving more revenue. And so, for our discussion today, we'll begin by focusing on how we can meet the demands of the modern buyer by discussing how buyer behavior has evolved and what today's customers expect from partner driven experiences. We'll then unpack the biggest shifts happening right now, from ecosystem complexity to evolving channel dynamics. And we'll also take a look at where the current partner marketing models are falling short and why disconnected tools and siloed execution are making it harder to scale and really prove that impact. And then we'll break down why a unified end-to-end technology platform is becoming essential and how it helps to simplify complexity throughout your ecosystem. Now, beyond technology, we'll also dive into the growing importance of that industry knowledge and strategic guidance and how this context really turns capability into real results. Once we go through this, we'll then leave plenty of time at the end of our discussion for Q&A. So if you have any questions in the meantime, though, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box throughout the presentation. So without further ado, and to get us started, I would like to officially introduce you to our guest speaker today, Maria Chien. Maria is a VP Principal Analyst at Forrester, and she is a thought leader in B2B channels with more than 20 years of experience, really defining and implementing marketing and channel strategy. Maria, it's an absolute honor to have you with us today, and I'm really looking forward to our discussion. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you so you could kick us off.
Thank you so much, Amalia, and it is actually my pleasure and honor to be here with you today. And I'm excited to talk about partner marketing and what's changing and what really matters most. So what we're seeing and what's going on out there in the industry is that B2B partner marketing is going through a pretty fundamental reset right now, right? It's not just an incremental change. So what's different versus even 2 to 3 years ago is that AI, ecosystem complexity that you mentioned, and buyer behavior are all shifting at the same time. So this shift to ecosystem-led growth, not just partner or channel, is driven by multiple partner types really simultaneously working together, right? So it can be ISVs, GSIs, dealers, marketplaces, influencers, data partners, and even agents now with the advent of really operationalizing AI into your business. And so execution partners plus ecosystem partners are converging sort of into one go-to-market system. So buyers are looking at increasingly using AI tools, so not just using search engines. Marketers are having to optimize for AI generated answers, not just SEO. And your partners now influence whether you show up in AI answers. And this is a massive shift. Partners are literally becoming part of your AI discovery footprint. So let's dig into that a little bit deeper today. The essence here, and this is a bit of an understatement, is that business buying is changing. And we know this. We feel this. There's economic pressures and businesses are changing. Go to market, route to market models are all changing. And of course, AI is changing everything, right? So we know that all of this is happening. But what we're going to look at today is really how business buyers and their process is changing. And so what I'm going to focus on and share with you today is, if you're not familiar with this, is Forrester does a survey every year. It's our buyer's journey survey. And we've been doing it for about a decade now. And it's the largest, most comprehensive business buying survey in the world. And we surveyed almost 18,000 respondents globally. So it's a massive study, and we're able to look at trending and what's changing over the years, et cetera. And so we asked them questions specifically about what does business buying look like for them. And that's what we're going to look at today. So if we look at that, what additionally is changing is not just the business buying is changing, but if we go forward, we see that business buyers are changing as well. Business buyers, you have to understand their needs and preferences, what they're looking at today, how AI is shaping what they find and what they can serve on their own. So their preferences are absolutely changing. If we can go to the next slide. So what we find then is that organizations have to start somewhere. And Forrester is all about customer obsession and helping organizations become customer obsessed. And it's really the engine that's powering B2B growth today. And this is not just some theoretical or academic exercise or conversation. This has a real impact on organizations' business. We see that they have higher revenue growth, they have higher profit and growth, and they have better customer retention and even employee retention. This is significant to the business, in a business of recurring revenue, in providing experiences and value. This really matters. But we're seeing that only 5% of B2B enterprise organizations report that they actually meet the criteria to be customer obsessed. So how can we help you? What can we give you some insights today? So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. Let's go into look at what are the B2B buying trends that are reshaping this purchasing journey and this reset that we're seeing with partner marketing. And so what we're seeing today is really that the number one pain point is that, or challenge, is that portfolio marketing teams, and this is what partner marketing relies upon, right? For the buyer insights and what's happening and what's the right content, what's the right solution, what's the right positioning. It's that they have a lack of understanding of buyer needs and customer needs. And that's critical. Buyers are shifting, our partners' buyers are changing, which means that we might need to change the partners that are in our ecosystem. And so this is a critical point of really starting to understand our B2B buyers and customers and their needs and preferences. We also have to understand that they are searching for complete solutions. They're not necessarily looking for a point solution anymore. That's really looking at the average of 6 products or services that make up one business outcome, right? To drive one business outcome. So it's not just all about you or your one product today. It's really understanding how buyers are purchasing, what they're purchasing, where they're purchasing, and who they're purchasing from. And 53% of them said that, experience was a primary trigger to engage or interact with a provider that they're looking to purchase from. So that experience that they have in previous purchases, or the experience that they're having as a new buyer in your purchasing cycle and their purchasing process, is going to be critical. And if we ask them, and I'm going to share this a little bit more depth, but we ask them what is the top technical reasons that drove their selection criteria, that was a selection driver for them. And end-to-end project management was huge. If you think about what's happening today, there is a sense of needing to manage this solution and really come in as an expert to provide that value back to that business outcome. It's all about driving positive business outcomes for buyers. And then part of the process that we're seeing is this idea of a buying network that is really taking over. About 13 people internally to an organization, which is part of a buying group that influence a buying decision. But there's up to 9 individuals externally. And this is where peer validation partners that are part of this larger buying network that includes the internal group, but also the external group. And there's average about 9 of them influencing that opportunity. And that's information that we need to understand to really get into understanding what our buyers and customers are looking for and who's influencing or architecting or putting roadblocks up into an opportunity. So let's dig a little deeper into what are the selection criteria and what are buyers looking at when they look to make a decision to go with a provider of choice, whether that's you directly, more importantly, whether that's you indirectly through your routes to market strategy. And so what we're seeing is the top technical reasons why a buyer selects the winning provider. It's price. It's always price, but then look at the next 4. It's domain expertise. It's that end-to-end project management that I mentioned. It's industry expertise and it's technical expertise. I said essentially expertise 4 times in the top 5 selection drivers. And so this is where organizations need to step in and say, this is an opening to really enable partners around providing the best experience, around really helping them differentiate between understanding the industry and the challenges that are unique to certain industries, the technology and solution expertise, and really coming across as an expert in that buying cycle so that they are then chosen as the provider of choice.
Maria, the one question that this data really provokes in me is, would this chart fundamentally look differently if we were to separate it based off of persona? For instance, if we pulled the business owners and marketing owners, would the stack rank look differently than procurement? I love looking at this data, but that's the provocative question that this data provokes me.
Hot and hard with the questions, Amalia, right? But it's an excellent question to dig a little bit deeper into this. So yes, it looks differently, but as I said, there's 13 people in a buying group. So essentially, you have to understand that all of this matters. These are the top 5 reasons. It's not that the first one matters the most. It's that even business lines of business and business owners here are being held to price and held to ROI and mitigating risk. And so how they do that is look at the next 4 underneath, right? Is that they have the right domain expertise, that you're actually being able to come in and architect and orchestrate the solution for them, that you understand the unique industry challenges, and that you're giving your partners the opportunity. This is a huge opportunity for them to be able to differentiate. So all those certifications and specializations, I would say go out there and change your enablement tactic to say you must do these 3 things, check off the box, and then you get some sort of benefit. This is a dynamic opportunity for you to go in and say, listen, within those different personas, you got to mitigate risk in all of these areas. And here's an opportunity to market the hell out of your certifications and specializations and investment that you have made to set yourself apart in as a winning provider. So absolutely, personas matter, personalization matters, industry, understanding who the company is and what they're struggling with matters. And if we look at the sort of another set of selection drivers, so outside of the technical, these are more of the cultural organization and really the feeling beyond the technical piece of it is brand and reputation, trust, and that experience, ease of doing business, taking the friction out, being easy to do business with, that you have strong customer experience expertise. We know that experience matters, right? And then look at the last one, customer reference quality. We used to talk about having use cases, but customer reference is really understanding that somebody else is validating and speaking on your behalf to say that, yes, in this industry, this is what I saw. This was my return. Again, outcome based, being able to measure that up and have specific numbers and facts around what they gained from going with you as a provider of choice.
Absolutely. And really, the trust and experience aligns to the importance we saw on the prior slide of that domain expertise. And from my perspective, trust and expertise really go hand in hand with brand reputation. It fuels it. You can't really separate the two.
Exactly. That's why we use the term trusted brands. And when you look at how important things are, let's just go into it, right? We're going to dig deeper into this as well. Trust is actually a business imperative today. You transact. It's actually the hard currency that organizations have to understand, that it's no longer a soft feeling, but it's really around what buyers are drawn to and how they trust. And it really speaks to that, as you said, that brand and reputation. So I'm going to show you what Forrester defines as the 7 levers of trust, to really help build that trust equity with an organization. And so these are the levers of trust across B2C, B2B. It includes customers, employees, and your partners. And these are ranked right now in alphabetical order from accountability, competence, consistency, dependability, empathy, integrity, and transparency. But when we conducted a trust survey and we dug a little deeper then into some data against these 7 levers of trust, now let's show what matters most to buyers, right? So when we're looking at asking them what matters in a transaction and when they make a decision with going with a specific buyer, provider of choice, they said that the top 3 of those 7 levers are competence, consistency, and dependability. And that's true across every geo, in every region, across industry, across size of organization. The order of them might change slightly, but those are the top 3 that we're seeing. And so competence, if you think about it, I just talked about the technical reasons, and those 4 things: expertise, 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 and end-to-end project management is about demonstrating, illustrating your competence. But there's also some sort of negative news that comes with this, is that what we saw when we asked the buyers after purchase, after they went with a winning provider, 85%, and by the way, this is up from 81% last year, 85% actually express some dissatisfaction. So you've got to avoid that post-purchase trust erosion, because trust is earned, but it can also be taken away so easily. And a lot of that dissatisfaction comes around the lack of expertise that they saw. They sort of bought on a promise of expertise or a hope of expertise, but it's really they didn't see that demonstrating. So when we want to augment that price as that number one, this is where we can go in and start to talk about trust in a way that's much more meaningful and much more specific to ROI and the impact on buyers and partners. In fact, if we go forward, trust is actually a hard-won currency that suppliers and partners need to invest in now. There's this whole trust equity equation of being able to transfer trust to your partner ecosystem and from your partner ecosystem.
And Maria, this is why it is so important for brands more than ever today to really identify a solution for their partner network that enables the brand to build that trust with their partners, as well as enabling their partners to build that trust with their customers, right? Because partners are
Exactly.
an extension of the brand with the brand's customers and market.
And if you think about that, I love that you called that out, because suppliers transfer trust onto their partners by having a strong solution, the right solution, with providing buyer insights, et cetera, having an innovative brand, and even the experiences that people have. And they can transfer that on to their partners. But partners are also trusted advisors, particularly when they're working in local markets, that they are the trust. And so they then take the buyer's trust and can transfer that back. Oh, you're my trusted advisor. It's almost more third party validation. And if you're recommending this solution, I'm going to go with it. So there's this equation that happens where it's this trust transference that can be either to your partners or from your partners. And it's dynamic, and it's really important if we focus on what the buyer needs and challenges and put them at the center of what we do.
Absolutely.
So when we think about trust and buyers, let's look a little bit deeper into generative AI's role in the purchasing process, right? We're seeing that adoption of AI continues to grow. It's more buyers find AI to be an important interaction that they have over other interactions. They seek validation of AI. Their human interactions are growing, but buyers also tap into a larger buying network, as we talked about, to get validation of what they're finding. Then we also know that buyer complexity not only remains, but it's continuing to grow because buying groups remain large, buyers engage in multiple interactions, and there are multiple partners and parts of solution that are driving that business outcome. And so when we looked at the data, we found that 95% of buyers have adopted Gen AI and use it at different phases across the buying process. So we think about they've used some sort of AI assisted Gen AI tool for searching. Maybe they use Copilot, ChatGPT. It might be public, it might be private. There's a whole range of these tools and solutions that they're using. And it's a huge tool for business buyers. Buyers are using it across, like I said, every single phase of the buyer's journey, not just in the beginning where they're information gathering. So it's pervasive across all buyers. And then when we look at what are the interactions that buyers are having and what matters most, and dig a little bit more into what this means for buyers, when we asked them what the most meaningful interactions were, it's the top rated interaction, generative AI search tool, right? They use it to do their own research, they use it to gather information during this purchase process. But we also do see it being accompanied by a little mistrust. And so we know that it's not 100% reliable. But when we asked buyers what interactions were meaningful, we also separated it by both personal and self guided sources of information that they might find meaningful. And when we look at doing it both personal, self guided, we also need to be aware and remind ourselves that buyers doing a lot of things across a lot of different interactions. And so, yes, they're using generative AI, it's number one. But we also see that there's some very meaningful personal interactions that we're seeing. So they still want to go to trade shows. They still want to talk to product experts. They still talk to sales reps because we know that those are part of their validation process. Just like they're using Gen AI, they're also using classic search, like they're going to industry associations, they're going to internet searches, they're using social media. So we need to understand what's important to them and how it's changing and how it's changing their research. But we can't lose sight of the fact that it's not the only thing they're doing. So while it's hugely important, it hasn't replaced everything. They're still doing that regular search. They're still talking to vendors. They're still gathering information and important information from other people. So when we ask them specifically about what's meaningful, we'd ask them not how many times they did this, because they might be searching on Gen AI constantly in the background. We ask them, which might be less often than they talk to a product expert or less often that they attend a conference. But we asked them the question very intentionally to say what was the most meaningful interaction. And so it's very, very meaningful. To just draw your attention to a couple of things that's changed, because I talked about we do this survey every year. Product experts actually dropped from being the number one personal interaction to being number five. And if you think about it, they're replacing some of that search and some of that conversation with using Gen AI to search, strengths and weaknesses, product features and functionality. So they're getting it from other places, but it doesn't diminish the fact that all of these things are equal. The other thing is that we should look at that social media and conferences shot way up. This is how do we get validation at scale, right? So how are we doing this? And if we take these same meaningful interactions, but we apply another lens to it, so we look at it from a different point of view, let's look at it again through the lens of which of these interactions are either influenced or provided by third parties. So this is that third party validation. And that's why conferences have gone up. That's why industry associations, people that understand who they are, what they are, how their business works. That's why that domain expertise and everything, and being able to illustrate that and articulate that and demonstrate that both in person, but also in AI searches and where you're being discoverable is critically important. And then if we wanted to go one layer deeper and say, out of these interactions, we talked about personal and self-guided, let's go to the next one where we look at content. And as we look at content and say, all right, what is the most meaningful content assets? It's again, we're seeing a preponderance of third-party supplied content, right? We're seeing that analyst reports are number one, research reports, success stories. And if I had to define what a research report is, just so that you understand, this isn't a report that Maria Chien wrote. This is a report that is a longer form asset that presents primary research to inform your buyers and your audiences. And it's typically prepared by you as a provider, but includes these third-party data points. And so it's really important to understand that it's not just the search and the data they're looking for, but the hand in hand is that third-party validation. The last point that I think is really critical here is to call out success stories. In previous years, we've talked about use cases. Use cases have kind of fallen off. And why that is because a success story doesn't just talk about a potential ideal use case of how you might use a solution. A success story talks about the success of using a solution. So that's really
This
important.
this is such valuable data, Maria, and if I take a step back and if we look at consumer trends over the past 5 to 6 years, consumers are relying less on what the brands are marketing to them directly because they believe the brand is biased, and they're more so increasingly relying on what the third party validation is offering them. And that's whether it's influencers, whether it's reviews, whether it's a local partner. This is why we at Ansira are seeing that some of our largest global clients, they have seen a shift in terms of the percentage of top line contribution that their partner ecosystem is delivering to their business. And that shift in some instances has doubled, meaning the partner ecosystem team is now contributing to twice as much in terms of revenue to top line growth for their organization. So it's increasing in importance for a company and for consumers.
Absolutely. And I love that you just said that, because if we go to my next slide is the increasing ecosystem importance, right? With the current state, and we're going to look a little bit into the future state of what's happening in partner ecosystems. But if you talked about doubling, areas, this is so important. So let's look at it. Let's go into the current state. And if we look at the current state, it's really about a majority of revenue is coming in direct. And we look at that through partners, through third-party marketplaces, through dealers, et cetera. So we see from a sales perspective that about 63% of organizations are reporting this. We also see that a high percentage was driven by partners. So about 59% of our respondents to a partner ecosystem marketing survey of this year, data just came back in January, 59% reported that 41% or more of their revenue was attributed, like partner attribution, to indirect routes to market and partners. And so revenue, a majority, it's high percentage is attributed to partners, specific partners. And then we're also seeing that business expansions, 75% from a KPMG study respondents talked about that their partner ecosystem actually fuels growth, innovation, and agility. Like, that is what organizations are transacting on. That's what buyers are looking for, that innovation, that growth. This is really important. And if we look at then the next area, so that's current state, we go to future state, more of what's being forecasted. We see that a majority of organizations are forecasting growth, right? So we see that 63% are saying that growth is going to be above or significantly above. So not even just meets, but above or significantly above last year. We're seeing partner influence. We talked about non-transacting partners and the influence and that validation. We're seeing that 60% are reporting that, again, above, not equal to, or significantly above last year. And then the whole makeup of our partner ecosystem is changing. 55% of our respondents say that the number of partners is going to be above or significantly above last year. And when we look at that across and break it out across partner type, that's across all partner types. And so we're seeing transacting and non-transacting partners, the sheer number of them increasing in partner ecosystems. So what does that lead us to? We have to think about, when we ask them too, no surprise here, that 90% of respondents said that partner ecosystem orchestration was important, very important, or absolutely essential to their business. As all of these things impact partner marketers, we have to be able to manage our ecosystem, orchestrate positive experiences. But when we asked our respondents, what's the level of maturity in the partner ecosystems? Only 38% said they have achieved a high level of partner ecosystem maturity. And we talked about this being a complete reset, not just an incremental step that's happening with partner marketers. So this is really critical because we're expecting so much, and we continue to expect things to be above or significantly above, but our maturity is not necessarily aligned with that. And so if we look at what are some of the challenges that organizations are facing when they try to optimize their partner ecosystem, it comes down to we're missing the resources to aid in building that maturity and moving to a successful ecosystem-led go-to-market model, right? We don't have the right skill sets. We aren't providing the right enablement around buyer insights and what's happening with our buyers. We're almost changing our go-to-market plan, but we're not changing our programs or processes behind that. And we lack some of the investment in these key areas of leadership, ownership, budget, of even technology to help us scale and really provide an experience that organizations look to improve and grow that maturity.
Absolutely. And just to give some additional context, when we look at our clients and those clients that have believe that their program is mature and that there isn't a lot of room for optimization, but then they begin to work with us as an example where we're solving for these challenges, what they have seen is when they're providing the right enablement and orchestration, they're actually seeing an increase in share of voice in the market. We're fundamentally seeing this with some of our top manufacturing clients, where they are taking share of voice from their competition because the orchestration is done right and that optimization is there.
I like to say it's not getting your fair share of partner mind share and customer mind share. It's all about getting your unfair share, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you do it. And to sort of put a capstone on this, I wanted to leave you with this thought of what partner marketing leaders and teams need to know on the next slide. And what really matters most is you must align with evolving buyer and customer and partner expectations to really achieve a total experience excellence. That's what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to get you that unfair share of mind share. Experience matters. We know it matters to buyers, it matters to customers, and partner experience absolutely matters. So when we think and take a step back and say what's needed to achieve this, this is where we start to talk about why expertise in orchestration matters. So at this point, I'm going to ask you, Amalia, to share and help us understand the importance of expertise in orchestration by sharing some key insights that you have.
Great. Thank you, Maria. And that's a great segue into the results we saw in the commission research that we recently did with Forrester. And so the goal of the study, to give everyone some context, was to really explore the current state of partner marketing and orchestration, where we surveyed 322 US marketing leaders responsible for partner strategy at their organization. And so as customer needs and preferences evolve and grow in complexity, as we've been discussing today, so do the partner ecosystem's needs in order to enable them. So based off based on the study that was conducted, what we saw was that most organizations tackle this by using many disparate tools. In fact, marketers said they turn to at least 6 different tools on average to manage and orchestrate their partner ecosystem. 63% of respondents actually said they use 7 or more. That is highly inefficient, highly costly to the business, not only from a pure cost perspective of those tools, but also cost to the revenue that you are essentially leaving on the table and not unlocking. So, leveraging more tools to achieve your growing list of marketing related priorities isn't the answer. It actually exacerbates partner orchestration challenges rather than really solving them, and creates an abundance of inefficiencies, as I had mentioned. So, as you can see here from a numbers perspective, survey respondents said that the impact of disconnected systems resulted in 66% noted that they lacked real-time analytics and insights into their partner marketing programs. That means that they're not able to optimize their partners, understand what would really work effectively to drive the outcomes that's needed with those partners. 63% noted that they use too many point solutions to manage their partner ecosystem. Again, costly and inefficient. 61% noted that they have a partner ecosystem that is too complex for effective orchestration and collaboration at scale. 59% said that they lost data when switching between their partner management solutions. Imagine if you have 10 years worth of data, you lose all of that. That's incredibly valuable data that would allow you to make better decisions moving forward that you no longer now have. That's a huge gap to fill. And then 57% noted that they have limited visibility into the activities and performance of their partner ecosystem, which really prevents you from being able to effectively optimize and drive results for your business. And it's as if you need orchestration of your tools versus your partners. This is something, Maria has noted before, but that's what it feels like. You're really orchestrating your tools versus your partners, which puts you further away from your customer at the end of the day. And so to segue into then the next slide, many of marketers surveyed also said that an end-to-end partner management platform that provides a complete view of the partner ecosystem is really the solution for solving these challenges. So, when asked if this type of solution would be valuable in improving the coordination and effectiveness of partner marketing, 82% of respondents indicated that would be either valuable or extremely valuable. And as you can see here on the slide, respondents noted that the biggest benefits of using an integrated holistic partner management was 70% saw faster decision making. This means driving outcomes faster and also staying ahead of the competition. 67% were able to increase their revenue. 65% increased scalability of their partner ecosystem function. And then 61% had better alignment and coordination amongst partners. And 65% also elevated the customer experience. I want to make sure I don't forget about that one. That's a key one because that is core in building that trust with your customer. And then 55% saw increase in efficiency and time savings. 38% saw more consistent controlled branding, and 37% increased employee productivity. I mean, these are all things, especially as a CRO, is what I like to see because it drives outcomes for the business. And this is ultimately what our specialty is at Ansira. We are in the business of saving brands not only time, money, but also driving outcomes to their businesses and enabling their end users so that the end user and the local economy can better engage with the brand's customers while ultimately shaping and building trust with for the brand with those customers, because they've done a fantastic job of optimizing their partner ecosystem. To segue into the next slide, this brings me to what are all of the components that are needed to drive the necessary outcomes for your business and trust with your partners and customers. So all of these elements that you see here on the flywheel really provide data points and the full picture of your partner ecosystem, of what's working, what isn't, where you need to optimize, the value that each partner is bringing to your business and to your customers. And this is all context. This builds expertise. This is not only context for your business, but it really builds that expertise for your partners as well. Because the more that you enable these elements across your partner ecosystem, the more then your partners can provide that necessary context, expertise, and building that trust, and thus influencing the brand's customer as to why that customer should purchase or continue to purchase from the brand that the partner is representing, right? Because customers, consumers are, especially in today's day and age, their wallet is shrinking. And so they need to really make sure that what they're purchasing is driving the value that is going to deliver to their needs. So while technology is a key piece of the puzzle when it comes to ecosystem orchestration, that human expertise and the validation, which is that context I just mentioned, is becoming even more important. Now, what do I mean by context? Context is really domain expertise, governance, institutional knowledge, and really that strategic guidance. So each of these elements on the flywheel enable this. And in Forrester's State of Business Buying in 2026, there's a call out of buyers needing validation of AI outputs with trusted voices, which Maria had touched on earlier. So nearly all business buyers, 94%, report using AI during their buying process. Yet, while AI-powered search tools offer speed and efficiency, they can create that mistrust by delivering incomplete or unreliable information. So buyers need to compensate by seeking validation from trusted sources and third parties, such as peers, product experts, industry analysts, and others also within their buying networks. These are really the influencers. Buyers are also more likely to engage with providers based on information from industry experts rather than just AI tools. So, according to the survey, the Forrester survey, marketers are aware of these gaps in expertise and how they prevent them from hitting their goals, like expanding customer reach, entering new markets, and delivering consistent partner and positive partner experiences. So 75% of the respondents in the survey indicated that an end-to-end solution provider that offers consultancy, guidance, and advice would be more valuable or extremely valuable in improving the effectiveness of their partner marketing function. Marketers also noted in the survey that many other benefits of these guidance and consultancy services that directly address their top priorities for the year included faster time to market. 73% noted that. 62% noted improved sales outcomes. Again, outcomes to the business. That context, that expertise fundamentally drives revenue, better customer experience for your business, and it builds that trust. Again, context and expertise matter and are becoming more critical to business outcomes. So nearly 60% of respondents in the survey said that they would be willing to actually pay more for an integrated, holistic partner management platform coupled with consultancy services. This again highlights the desire and need for that context and expertise. And as you can see, business leaders are willing to pay more for that. And so we are seeing the impact that a unified platform of expert services has on our clients every day here at Ansira by removing that complexity and inefficiencies. And so here's a quote for one of our clients at Kohler, where she noted that previously they worked with separate vendors for multiple marketing efforts. So their microsite and co-op management platform was all separate. But in Ansira, we offered an all-in-one solution that really helped their dealers and their business, and we were able to drive positive outcomes. And so what does a unified platform and context look like in action? What we've done is we've put together a video that follows an end user as they navigate the Ansira platform that really illustrates how this combination can turn fragmented local marketing into a seamless, connected experience across the ecosystem. So we'll play that for you now.
Local marketing shouldn't feel like chasing approvals across 6 different tools just to launch one campaign and trying to prove what worked. Ansira brings everything into one connected system, so brand teams and local teams move in sync. AI is embedded throughout the platform, generating content, automating workflows, and surfacing insights, so execution is faster, compliant, and measurable. Picture it like an orchestra. You and your brand team are the conductor, setting direction, aligning the rules, and deciding which sections to activate. When teams need a boost, Ansira Expert Services is there to elevate the performance. Think of each Ansira module as an instrument family in your orchestra. Start with the section that fits your needs today, then add others over time to unlock a full, synchronized performance. Meet Joe, one of your local users in the field. Whether your ecosystem is dealers, franchises, sales reps, agents, or retailers, Joe's job is the same. Activate brand-approved marketing fast, stay compliant, and prove what worked. For Joe, the day starts in Ansira Instant, checking available co-op funds, reviewing eligible programs across digital and print, and setting up his marketing activity so the claim and proof of performance are ready when results come in. When fund utilization is low, Ansira Expert Services steps in, bringing program strategy, audience insight, and measurement, plus ROI calculators that help teams model impact, prioritize the right actions, and prove those dollars are working. Next, Joe moves to Ansira Create, pulling from a centralized library of approved assets and templates, customizing locally in seconds. Built-in AI reviews ensure everything stays brand-aligned and legally compliant. After customizing his flyer, Joe adds it to his cart. The cart is always available as Joe continues exploring additional campaigns, social posts, direct mail, digital ads, building a full local activation plan in one seamless flow. Need a custom version fast? Ansira Creative Services can design, scale, and optimize assets while staying compliant. From Create, Joe moves into Ansira Attract, launching paid social and local media directly from the platform. Targeting, budget allocation, and brand compliance are already pre-configured. He selects his campaign, sets his local parameters, and activates in minutes. Now that Joe is ready, his checkout is simple. Because he activated through Ansira, his eligible incentives are automatically applied. However, users can choose to split payment if needed, or use a credit card, all within the platform. With Ansira Connect, Joe builds targeted segments and manages contacts so he can send personalized emails to leads, prospects, and customers, turning local marketing into measurable results. After his marketing campaign runs, Joe returns to Ansira Insent, submitting a claim tied to the activity, attaching proof of performance, using AI automation to auto-populate and validate each document in real time, and checking his remaining fund balance. Working with Ansira doesn't require replacing your tech stack. Ansira is built to fit, connecting to your existing ecosystem and workflows that support the partners who take your brand to market. You can begin with one section or a few, but when every section plays from the same score, the work gets simpler and the investment gets smarter. You cut duplicate effort, protect brand standards, and put fund dollars to work faster with a clear line from activation to proof and ROI. With Ansira Expert Services, strategy, creative, media, MarTech, and integration support, you're never doing this alone. It's platform plus services, working as one. Imagine what happens when every partner, every campaign, every dollar, and every data signal moves in sync. When brand strategy and local execution don't compete, they amplify. That's not coordination, that's orchestration. And that's what happens when your ecosystem performs as one.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Now, what we're going to do is open it up for any questions you may have. So please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll get through as many as we can during the remainder of our time today.
So I see a question that said, is this true across all firm sizes? And based on the time that it was inputted, I'm assuming it was during my part of the presentation. And so I'm not exactly sure, Cassandra, if what you mean, so I'm going to answer it, but if you want to add any more context, you can just put it back into the Q&A. I talked about buyers and what selection drivers were. Yes, this is against all firm sizes. When you look at the makeup of our survey, we had almost an even split between enterprise and SMB, but it also included very small businesses as well. So we had a nice makeup. We had a great mix between North America, Europe, and APAC. And we had about a fifth C-suite, but other than that, they were professionals. So across all different sizes of organization, but a nice split. The data that I showed for the selection drivers had a base of just over 12,000. So you can assume that at a 12,000 person base that you're going to have a lot of that mix. What we do find is if you split it by size of firm, so SMB perhaps versus large enterprise, you might get a different variation of the order of those things. But just like I mentioned, the interactions, it's not just over rotate to Gen AI because that's the most influential or the most impactful interaction that they're having. All these other ones also matter because they don't do one tactic, one interaction in isolation. So it would be looking at all of them. And that includes also trust, those top areas, because I don't know exactly what point trust matters. Those top three, just a different order, were all sizes of organization, verticals, geos, et cetera. So competence, consistency, and dependability mattered most.
Thank you, Maria. I see another question about what is your definition of partner?
Oh, I'll answer that and I'll let you then answer it, Amalia. So when we look at partner and why we shifted at Forrester from being called channel marketing to partner ecosystem marketing was to really denote the change of expansive partner types. We'd always talked about different partner types, but the fact that a channel marketer, partner marketer's remit was expanding. So it didn't just include transactional partners. So I mean resellers, dealers, agents, distributors, both direct distributors and two-tier distribution. So where they're acting as your proxy. I mean MSPs, global systems integrators, regional systems integrators, co-innovation partners, even those that are innovating without you. So not co-innovating. You may hear about frontier partners out there. So it looks at co-innovation, co-market, co-sell, and then services only. So the gamut of what motions and what actions a partner performs across the customer life cycle, right? So we focus, again, being customer obsessed, on the customer life cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And our definition is very similar to what you described, Maria. It's really any partner, whether it's a franchise owner, whether it's a dealer, agent, reseller, distributor, retailer, anyone that is touching that customer journey, right? In that decision-making process, in that journey, that is considered a partner. And I envision that it will continue to evolve, especially as our industry continues to also evolve with AI, right? The definition of partner may continue to evolve.
Absolutely. We always say it's not your current partners that make up your partner ecosystem. It shouldn't be. It's your buyers and customers and who they go, why do they buy, who do they buy from, who influences them. That should be making up your ecosystem going forward. So you may have to shift some of those partners within your ecosystem, which may denote different ways to orchestrate and manage them, because your programs and processes should adapt to those partner business models. I like to say partner types, but it's really business models. How do they make their
Yes.
money? How do they interact or transact with the buyer and customer and you as an organization?
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I see another question that is noted as, what are some ways companies can begin to prioritize context within their own organization? And so from a prioritization standpoint, the context all starts from the data. So do you have the data, the transparency and visibility into really understanding the value that each partner is bringing to you? So where I would start is ensuring that you don't have so many disparate systems and you start to consolidate, so that way you're seeing that holistic picture. Because without that holistic picture, that context, right, those data points, which you do need, the human element to then understand, what do you do with all those data points? What does that tell you? How are you going to engage and optimize with each different partner, right? Because you may have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 partners, each of which they have their own specific needs within their market, and they have to engage differently with their customers, which are ultimately your customers. So where I would prioritize is looking at all of your different tools and disparate systems. As we had noted, on average, there's at least 6 different systems, and starting to figure out, how do you bring that down from 6 all the way down to 1 to provide you with that larger picture of what's working, what isn't.
And I would lean in and say part of the context too is understanding your buyers and customers of those partners. And just like Cassandra's question was like, is this all firm sizes? She probably had an idea of like, does this map to where we're focused? That's what you have to look at. Is not just, many organizations will like, we have all the buyer insights for enterprise customers.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But your partners sell to SMB or small businesses. So do you have the right insights there? So I loved where that question was coming from, because it was getting towards more specificity around your buyers and customers. And that's really also where, so I love the double of, to understand that, and then the partners and how they serve them and how they serve you in serving and creating exceptional experiences for your buyers and customers.
Absolutely. It looks like we went through all of the questions, and I know that we are up on time. So first and foremost, Maria, thank you so much for joining me today. And to everyone that joined, we really appreciate you spending time with us. And we're excited to continue the conversation. Whether that's any follow-up questions you may have, please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can see the QR code here for my LinkedIn profile, and we can, set up more time to chat. So with that said, thank you all for joining, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.